My name is Michelle Olkers, and I'm the Managing Partner of Mazars in Cape Town. We're very pleased to have you all here today, and I think that we've got some great speakers to tell us a little bit more about what Minister Nene presented to us yesterday and in his maiden budget speech, and just to understand the implications of that for you as an individual, as well as on your business and from an economic perspective. So we're going to start the proceedings today with Hilton Saven, who's our national chairman, who's going to share a little bit about Mazars. He's also our co-CEO of Mazars International and is a member of our group executive board internationally. Hilton?
Welcome, everybody. It's wonderful to see you all. Hard to believe that a year has actually passed since we did our last presentation, but it's amazing how time flies. Just when I was walking in this morning, I was listening to a conversation about some people who were thinking about going on some of the rides afterwards. I just want to make it clear at this point in time, we don't take any liability for any of the rides that you may partake on. But it's really nice to have you all with us, and what I'm going to try and do is to give you a little bit of information about Mazars from first of all, from an international point of view, and second of all, from a national point of view. I know I've only got 5 minutes, so obviously we have to keep to that because we've got obviously the main speakers who are going to be talking after me. So what I would like to do is just to talk for a few minutes about the key facts and figures about the Mazars Group. I'd like to look at the group results with you. Our year end is the 31st of August every year, so we've just had a closing of our last year, which is August 14. Talk a little bit about Mazars South Africa, and then spend a little bit of time on the non-attest services that we've invested quite heavily over the last number of years. So just to let you have some of the facts and figures is that we're in 73 countries around the world. The fee income for the year ending 31 August 2014 was just over €1 billion. It's interesting that 70% of our revenue is in fact outside of France. I'm often asked the question about how big is the French practice, where obviously Mazars started, and over the years as we've grown, so the significance of the French practice has in fact become less. We have 553 offices around the world, 14,000 people, and we audit in excess of 500 listed companies. In terms of where we are around the world, we're pretty much in most of the places. The largest area where we operate is in Europe, where in fact a significant portion of the fee income that we do is actually written. But over the last number of years, what we've seen is that North America has become more important for us, and we have a significant strategy in place to extend the US and North America to get somewhere near where the size of Europe is. It's interesting to look at the different growth aspects of the world and to look where in fact the opportunities are. And what we've seen over the last number of years is that Asia has obviously been the leader in terms of growth. But surprisingly enough, if you look at Africa, the actual growth prospects in Africa are probably at this point in time somewhere close to what they are in Asia. Most of the countries to the north of us have got growth rates that we would envy, which is somewhere around about 5%. And if you look at the opportunities in terms of sub-Saharan Africa, which I will allude to a little bit later, you'll see that it should have a huge impact. In terms of the group results, as I've said, the turnover for 31st August 2014 was just over $1 billion, which represents a 5.8% increase in fees. And I think we have to take that into context of Europe, and Europe being in recession for the last number of years, because the number of the countries in Europe where we operate, be it France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, are in fact have gone through quite severe recessions where the growth has been in fact negative in certain industries. So 5.8% has been a really good achievement. Just in terms of the number of partners we have on a worldwide basis, we have 748 partners. We have 11,400 staff who would work on the technical aspects, and then our administration staff of just over 1,900. If we look at Mazars in South Africa, we joined, in fact, the group on the 1st of September 2007. At that particular point in time, just as a matter of interest, the euro was R9.50. So at 14 odd today, you can see the significance in terms of the conversion that we've seen. In South Africa, we have about 950 people at this point in time. This is an interesting time for us because this is when we take on our new article clerks around the country. They sign articles at this point in time, so the figure of 900 is probably closer to about 950. In terms of offices and where we operate, we really operate in the main centres around the country. It hasn't been our strategy or the philosophy just to put dots on a map. We believe we need to be present in areas where the services are required by our clients. In terms of Africa, I just want to spend a few minutes about Africa because this is a particular slide that I enjoy showing to people overseas because I think people don't get the idea of what the extent and size of Africa is. And we take a lot of responsibility for Africa being the second largest economy and certainly having the best infrastructure in terms of all the countries in Africa. We've been charged with the responsibility of leading significant growth for Mazars within Africa. So when I put this slide, it kind of puts it into context in terms of what the size of Africa is, where you have 54 to 55 countries, where you have different languages, and it just shows the difficulty we have in terms of addressing this region and the growth potential that we have within the region. In terms of where we actually operate in the region, this shows where we have direct offices in terms of red. In terms of yellow, we have associate offices, but we also do work in a number of the other countries within Africa. And that, as I said, is a significant factor in terms of the strategy going forward. Over the last number of years, what we've seen is that we've seen a lot of multinationals who want to invest into Africa who choose to do so via South Africa. And there are many reasons for that, but I think the primary reason is that they want to use the infrastructure that we've built up within this country and establish a base in what they would see as a first world environment. In some of the services that we actually provide to these multinationals and some of the smaller companies, we'll see some of those services that we actually offer. So in terms of the non-attest services that I spoke about earlier, what we've done over the last number of years is that we've invested quite heavily into what we call the non-attest services, which is the non-audit services. And what we found is that clients are looking in many instances for a one-stop almost approach in terms of whether they do a transaction, whether they need forensic work, whether they need financial assistance or they need project finance, etc. And over the years, each of the areas that we've listed here, we've made significant investments in those areas. Just one of them that I would like to talk about is, in fact, what we call the outsourcing division, which is an interesting one. And what we're finding is that a lot of multinational companies and foreign companies who come into South Africa don't want to set up a full infrastructure when they first come into the country. What they want to do is to outsource a lot of their administrative services, be it payroll, be it finance, etc., until they get to a particular stage, and when they're happy they're at a particular scale, they then obviously would like to invest more fully. So we're seeing a lot more of that. What we're seeing also is a lot of companies, as I said, who are coming in, who are looking to set up a holding company in South Africa and to invest into the rest of Africa via those means. So I won't keep you any further. I just want to thank all of you. I know it's early in the morning, but to see this kind of turnout is actually fantastic, and I wish you all well. I'm going to hand over to Michelle, who's going to introduce Daniel.